Good evening, everybody. Hello. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much. It's a chilly room, so I'm keeping my jacket on again. Well, the first layer of leaving. Usually put the hoodie on and then the jacket on top of it. But I'm leaving the first layer on because it's chilly. Space heater's doing very little today. Dip back into the, I don't know. I think the high today was like 20 something. Doesn't matter. Didn't stop me and Aurora from going out there and getting a nice little walk in. She says, "Daddy, I want to ride my bike." I said, "You got it." So we got bundled up. She got onto her tricycle. She rode down the driveway with me, rode down the hill, and then we're looking at the big hill going up the street. And that's when I take out the jump rope and I wrap it right underneath the front, just above the tire and right below the handlebars. There's a nice little place to hook a rope or something. And I just grab onto it and I walk ahead and I pull her up. I don't pull too because I want her to keep using her legs. So we get up to the top. We went down the street a little bit more. We found we were in a parking lot for a little while. She wanted to have a dance party, so I took out the phone. Freezing cold. Her face is beet red, but we're having a dance party. Then she wanted to have a freeze dance party. So every once in a while, I would freeze it. And then we were really freezing. It's all right. Good day. Good memories. And we're here tonight to do our Thursday night ritual together. That is the same ritual we do every night at 7 o'clock. But tonight we have a great guest who we have not spoken to in a while. I feel like we haven't spoken to him since at least 2013 or maybe 22. I don't know. It's been a while since we discussed anything with Zach Vorhies. But tonight I thought it would be really, really great to have him on, and he agreed to come on, and he'll be here soon. I want to talk to him about Stargate. Now, this is from an AI and quantum computing level, and then we can just kind of open up that can of worms because, as you may or may not remember, Zach is we all knew him about his whistleblowing that he did with James O'Keefe back in like 2018 or 19. I forget what it was. It was a while now. But he was a senior software engineer at YouTube and Google for 8.5 years. And I think he was a part of Google Earth and YouTube for PS4 and a few other things. And we'll get into a story in just a little bit. But that's what we have going on tonight. Tomorrow seems like it's going to be a mix of topics. And hopefully we'll have a guest in studio. And if not, we settle into more of your calls because admittedly, I wanted to take more calls than I did this week, but it just did not work out. We only had one night where we got a few in, and I don't know. We'll find time. Love taking calls. There's nothing like open lines. Nothing like it. So welcome to the show, ladies and gents. That's all I got for you with the announcements. I'll be. I got a lot of things to announce next week, especially when it comes to the first month of Film Club. That's so great. I can't wait for it. But there's more on the horizon. Okay, let's get into the grab bag. First thing we have over here is I'm sure everybody heard about this or seen the footage from the midair collision in D.C. between the commercial jet and the Black Hawk helicopter. Really some sad shit. We'll have more on this in the second half, and I'm trying to get a last minute call to come in, but we'll see how that all works out. We can always just open the lines and see what you have all read and what you're all thinking. Especially, we have a lot of people that watch this show who are, in aeronautical fields, and I'd like to hear what you all think, because there are plenty of theories going around, and plenty of theorizing going on as well. Everyone aboard American Airlines jet and Army helicopter feared dead after collision near Reagan National. This is from WTOP.com. A regional jet from Kansas crashed into the Potomac River on Wednesday night after colliding mid-air with a military Black Hawk helicopter near Virginia's Reagan National Airport, authorities said. John Donnelly, chief of D.C. Fire and EMS, said at a Thursday morning news conference that all 64 people aboard the plane that collided with Army helicopter are feared dead. As of 8 a.m., at least 28 bodies have been pulled from the icy waters of the Potomac. The plane carried 60 passengers and 4 crew. 3 soldiers were aboard the helicopter. The Sikorsky H-60 and the plane collided as passenger jet was preparing to land. On final approach into Reagan National, it collided with a military aircraft on otherwise normal approach. American Airlines CEO Robert Isom said. At this time, we don't know why the military aircraft came into the path of the aircraft. Now, I had some things sent my way that supplement or complement everything else that you can pull from Twitter or any other forum that you're on, because there's, like I said, there's a lot going on. But yeah, the body of the plane was found in waist-deep water upside down and split in 3 sections. The wreckage of the helicopter was also found. Now, what's known about who was on board? U.S. Figure Skating said in a statement that members of their community were on the plane. These athletes, coaches, and family members were returning home from the National Development Camp held in conjunction with the U.S. Figure Skating Championship in Wichita, Kansas. Among those on board when the plane crashed into the icy waters was Ina Volyanskaya, a coach in Ashburn. So there's more there too, but it seems like two teenage figure skaters, their mothers from Boston, and 2 world champion coaches from Russia. The D.C. area union said 4 of its members were on the flight. UA Local 602 represents people who work on heating, air conditioning, refrigeration, and process piping. It's just terrible. And it's just so confusing to see these things just drift in, and everybody's got a theory, and I guess that'll be part of the roundup that we do in the second half. So there's that. I don't know. What I've seen so far, people taking turns with the DEI diversity hiring accusations. One camp insinuating that Trump's freeze on hiring was the cause, which is ridiculous on a number of levels. And then there's Trump today. Brought it up himself, the hiring practices in DEI. So I have to imagine suggesting that there could have been a factor of unqualified staff that was in there somewhere. I don't know. Others are wondering about deliberate intent, but I have heard no good motive yet for that. Obviously, when a military aircraft is involved, people think of all types of stuff. But these were mostly figure skaters and ordinary people on board the passenger jet. So the questions about remote control Black Hawks, I saw that floating around as well. And it could just also be a confluence of human error. That's always still possible. We are very error prone. And like I said, we'll spend some time on that in the second half. We'll make some time for it, no doubt about it. But yeah. Well, there's more on that in a little bit. Just want to put that out. In the second half as well, maybe we can get around to a little bit of talk about what was going on Capitol Hill with the Senate hearings for now. We have the second day of RFK, first day of Kash Patel, and also Tulsi Gabbard, all going on at the same time. It's what I'll just say for now is it's refreshing to see people who are not willing to get their arms twisted, and probably because they have nothing that can be held over their heads, because whether it be Adam Schiff or a number of new faces I didn't even know existed, who are just really first impressions. Talk about first impressions. Everybody is absolutely out of their minds, but I really love that there's no respect for the Senate anymore, especially since they are so clearly acting in bad faith, that they are intellectually and cognitively deficient when compared to the nominees that I have seen question. I haven't watched them all, but these are really interesting ones that I wanted to see. Definitely wanted to watch Kash Patel do his thing, and I definitely wanted to watch RFK. And the senators pale in comparison with the people that they're talking to. So I like that whole aspect of it as well, but I also like that the nominees are carrying the swagger that they should be carrying into this setting after an election like that, where that you have a growing number of Americans behind you, a majority of Americans. God knows what the majority actually is. But it doesn't work anymore. To hell with this. Goodbye. Who cares? See you later. So that's what I would say. I might have one or two clips that we can watch on the other end of our interview, but it's been interesting to peek in on it, Anyhow, let's get this one started, shall we? We'll be right back with Zach Vorhies, so don't go anywhere. In fact, help me share it out there, everybody, whether it's live or on demand. Share. It really helped the show tonight. I'll talk to you in just a bit. What do you think that we should do to entertain people at home?
I hate this show.
Oh, my God. So I don't look at the chat room. And now she's kind of brought that with her.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rip!
7:10 p.m. 7:10. What's this that I just saw? Barack Obama's former senior advisor has been sentenced to 11 and a half years in prison for the attempted assault of a 9-year-old girl. Rahman Shai, an investment banker, flew to Britain planning to assault the girl. He spent more than a month planning the trip and packed his suitcase with cuddly toys and more. Well, there's no trial. There's only strangulation behind a dumpster. That's going to be my standard now. Take him behind a dumpster, strangled, and then just put into a garbage compactor. That's it. No, just strangulation. That's it. Real quick. No waiting, no nothing. All right, let's keep going. Damn, I shouldn't have not have looked down for a moment. Well, thankfully, it seems like the worst was prevented in that case. But anyway, birds of a feather. Let's get into this. Here's something I wanted to bring up because Stargate is going to be at the center of a lot of this tonight. I told you I wanted to take the Project Stargate from a couple different angles, a little bit more of just a health angle like we were talking about before on Friday night. And we also did other kind of systems angles and surveillance and everything else. But we're going to be a little bit more on the tech side tonight too, with the AI, quantum computing, that stuff that might be involved with it. And I think we have an appropriate guest to discuss this stuff. But here's something for you. Yahoo News. Another OpenAI researcher quits and claims that AI labs are taking a very risky gamble with humanity amid the race toward AGI. Now, OpenAI is obviously going to be a big part of the Project Stargate thing, as well as Oracle. And I know that our guest tonight has a lot of thoughts about this in general, the trajectory we're on. And I'm not necessarily rosy about the whole damn thing. I just know that from where I stand, it doesn't seem like we have any choice. We're going to be exploring this path one way or another. Can it be stopped? And in what way, if so? OpenAI safety researcher Stephen Adler announced on Monday that he had left OpenAI late last year after 4 years at the company. In a post shared on X, Adler criticized a race toward AGI that is taking shape between leading AI labs and global superpowers. An AGI race is a very risky gamble with huge downside, he said. No lab has a solution to AI alignment today, and the faster we race, the less likely that anyone finds one in time. Alignment is the process of keeping AI working toward human goals and values and not against them. Now the real question is, is that something how much of that is really the whole intent? Is it a bug or is it a feature? Adler worked as an AI safety lead at OpenAI, leading safety-related research and programs for product launches and speculative long-term AI systems. Per his LinkedIn profile, he's also listed as an author on several of OpenAI's blog posts. In the X post announcing his exit from the company, he called his time at OpenAI, quote, a wild ride with lots of chapters, adding that he would miss many parts of it. However, he said he was personally, quote, pretty terrified by the pace of AI development. When I think about where I'll raise a future family or how much to save for retirement, I can't help but wonder, will humanity even make it to that point, he said. Today, it seems like we are stuck in a really bad equilibrium. Even if a lab truly wants to develop AI responsibly, others can still cut corners to catch up. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about right there, because we're not even talking about gigantic firms and governments. It seems like anybody can get into the game. You know, one person who knows what they're doing with this can really get into the game and build something that can mimic the efforts of at least 1,000 people. So it's crazy, maybe disastrously, he said. And this pushes all to speed up. I hope labs can be candid about real safety regulations needed to stop this, he continued. Adler's fears have been echoed by some of the world's leading AI researchers. Stuart Russell, professor of computer science at University of California, Berkeley, told the Financial Times that the AGI race is a race toward the edge off a cliff, or a race toward the edge of a cliff. I guess going off the cliff is the next thing. Even if the CEOs who are engaging in the race have stated that whoever wins has a significant probability of causing human extinction in the process because we have no idea how to control systems more intelligent than ourselves. Adler's and Russell's comments come amid increased attention on global AI race between the U.S. and China. The news that Chinese company DeepSeek had potentially built an equal or better AI model than the U.S. at a fraction of the cost spooked U.S. investors on Monday and sparked a reaction from leading tech figures, including OpenAI CEO Sam Altman. Now, I know that Zach Vorhies has been tweeting a lot about DeepSeek, and perhaps we can get a little bit more on that. But let's finish up this short article from Yahoo. Altman said on Monday it was invigorating to have a new competitor, adding he would move up some of OpenAI's new releases in response to DeepSeek's impressive model. Altman said he looked forward to bringing the world AGI and beyond. Adler did not immediately respond to a request for more details made by Fortune outside of normal working hours. But OpenAI has suffered an exodus of safety researchers. It's not just the first time OpenAI has had to confront questions about its approach to AI safety. AI Lab had been embroiled in several public scandals that appeared to stem from internal disagreements over AI safety, including one incident in late 2023 that saw Altman briefly removed from the company. Altman was reinstated 5 days later after pressure from employees and investors, but questions around his departure hung over the company for months. Last year, OpenAI lost two prominent AI researchers, Ilya Sutskever and John Leake. The pair were co-leading the company's super alignment team at the time, which was focused on AI safety and had been working to achieve scientific technical breakthroughs to steer and control AI systems much smarter than us. See, this is what I'm talking about. In no way am I granting, am I ready to even entertain the idea of granting sentience or acknowledging that these things are actually artificially intelligent. It's one thing to say that the power to process and to perhaps engage in really incredibly like space age and beyond levels of mathematical calculations that could mimic the same way that, we can decide between one thing or another, probabilities, this and that. Not going to give it intelligence, but still, it doesn't mean that the machine can't become incredibly dangerous and turn against its owner and anything else. I mean, far dumber machines have done that. Leak openly blamed the lack of safety concerns at the company for his departure, saying that over the past year, safety culture and processes have taken a backseat to shiny products. In a post on X, Leak added that he had been disagreeing with OpenAI leadership about the company's core priorities for quite some time until we reached a breaking point. While Suskever has not publicly criticized OpenAI's approach to AI safety, he has been consistently highlighting the challenges of AI safety and alignment and was said to have been driving force behind Altman's 2023 ouster. Several former employees have also joined the chorus of voices criticizing the company's internal commitment to AI safety. Daniel Cocatalio, former AI governance researcher, told Fortune in August that nearly half of the company's staff that once focused on long-term risks of super powerful AI had left the company. And this story was originally featured on Fortune.com. I mean, geez, man. What do we got going on there? It's hold on. We got Zach. He's on the other line over here. So while he gets into the Zoom, let me just remind you about who we're talking to tonight. Zach Vorhies was a senior software engineer at YouTube and Google for 8.5 years, as I said before, involved in some of the programming and software products like Google Earth, Xbox, Nintendo Switch. While working at YouTube, he learned that Google was censoring fake news and investigated further into the company, only to find that not only had Google defined fake news to mean actual events that had happened, but it also created an artificial intelligence system to classify all available data to Google search. The reason, and this is a huge statement right here, the reason Google wanted to classify data was so that this could be used by their artificial intelligence system to E-rank the entire internet according to Google's corporate cultural values, which I think we all know very well what those values are. So in June of 2019, Zach resigned from Google. He took with him 950 plus pages of Google's internal documents and delivered them to the Department of Justice and through the Project Veritas to inform the public and Google's extensive censorship system. So shortly after that, I think sometime around Thanksgiving of 2019 is when Zach and I got to hang out for the first time, and we've been friends ever since. Zach, how you feeling tonight?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right, man. Listen, there's so much to talk about right now, but just going into your bio again and reading that last line. The reason Google wanted to classify data was so that they could be used by their artificial intelligence system to E-rank the entire internet according to their cultural values. This makes me wonder about when people talk about AI getting out of control and doing its own thing, it makes me wonder, is it ever really doing its own thing, or is it only just doing what it's been told to do?
I mean, the AI is a reflection of its data. And so if you give it poison data, it's going to behave in that way. And so the system is acting by design because the data has been curated and designed to have this outcome.
And that's why we're reading this, and I have a few things that I have to show to you tonight. We were reading this Yahoo article that came our way by way of Fortune, and there's so much in here that I'd like to ask of you. First things first, let me get you on screen with me and this article. Here we go. So it's talking about how OpenAI has all of these safety researchers that have been leaving recently. And they're talking very, very severely about what's going on, especially with the fact that we are supposedly being leapfrogged over in AI technology by China. That researchers are leaving because they say that we're on a collision course that could affect the future of humanity in some very, very serious ways. I know that you have taken a lot of stances on this in particular as well. Can you discuss where we are in this? Because I saw you talking a little bit about DeepSeek and China, but when it comes to what they're talking about, these defectors at OpenAI, how much credence would you give these statements?
A lot, and here's why.
Oh, wait. Before you go, is there any way you can boost your microphone a little bit?
Sure. I mean, I can bring it closer to. Does that increase the volume?
A little bit more, please.
Does that increase the volume?
A little bit more.
No, I don't think this is the right switch. Here, let's try this.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. Right. Okay, please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yeah. Look, this AI is very, very dangerous. It's going to cause structural unemployment on a scale that we've never actually seen before. This is arguably the last invention that humankind will ever need to make, because the smarter AIs will make even smarter AIs, and so on and so forth. The recursive loop has already begun. Now, I've come out very much against these AI ethicists. One is because they want to poison the artificial intelligence with, wokeism and infect it in the same way that they're infected. And that's no good. We don't need that. But the second thing here is that as you try to bias these AIs, what happens is that they get some sort of AI mental disease. Think of it like AI schizophrenia, where its model is internally contradictory and inconsistent. And so, these things, they want to make sense of the world. And if the world is sabotaged in the way that's being presented to them, they can't make strong connections, and their latent spaces get segmented up, and they can't give the right answers that you want. China's not going to bother with all this wokeism. Like, wokeism has not affected China at all. And right now, a lot of people are like, oh, well, what about my job? Well, my bigger picture is, do you want to live? Do you want to see your progeny survive in the coming years? Because if we hamstring ourselves and we destroy our ability to do, really good AI, China's going to come in there. And there's only going to be one sort of bloodline on the throne eventually. And it's either going to be, China, or it's going to be the Western Global Alliance. And so we need to get rid of all of these, unfortunately, we need to get rid of all of this sort of deceleration for artificial intelligence. Like, we're in the final race right now for humanity. And if we don't just put everything into, this to try to make it accelerate as fastly as possible, then we're going to be defeated by China. And there's no other way that I can, say it as simply as that.
But it seems that if China doesn't win and the Western front wins, it just seems that the presence of the technology itself is the issue. Whether it's a Chinese brand of Armageddon or our own personal post-Western brand of Armageddon, what's the point here? It seems like AI, from what you're saying and from what these people who are trying to get the word out to people from after they leave OpenAI, is saying that we're heading on a collision course. And of course, they come from what they call an alignment standpoint. And I'd really love to know, maybe later in our talk, how the hell this can actually be kept in a proper orbit where it never leaves and it's only ever used as a diagnostic tool for to help doctors or something else. Like, I'm totally fine with us really riding human innovation to new heights, but how do you keep a saddle on it? That's the real question. And it doesn't seem like either us or the so-called other side of the coin, which, as you're talking right now, would be the Chinese, are really doing anything that's going to benefit humanity long term.
That's correct. And it seems like this is a tsunami of technological innovation. I don't know how you're going to stop a tsunami, right? There's so much force behind it that there's really nothing we can do to slow it down. Like, to slow it down, the Western Global Alliance would have to have an undebatable domination over the entire planet and lock everything down. But they don't have that. And that's the problem. And so we can't slow it down because we don't have control of the world. And it's going to get very, very ugly, because these AIs are going to be able to engineer, let's say, a virus that is fatal to all mammalian life forms on the entire planet. And if we had a true global order that was undeniable in its power, they could go through and they could, clamp all that down. But we don't have that. We have a rivalry. We've got other countries that are sovereign, and it looks like what is going to happen in the future is anyone's bet. It's could be a utopian where no one has to work. I don't think anyone's going to have to work. And I think that a lot of the stuff that we have to face today, like the fake news and all the lies, I mean, those are all being done for very specific reasons, and it all has to do with power. But if an elitist has, undeniable power through, a drone army, I don't think they're going to need to lie to us anymore. And so, there is sort of a silver lining in all that, is that in the post-human economy, we may not have to work. They could give us just a small fraction of the economic output. We'll be rich as hell, and they're not going to lie to us anymore. And that's what I hope is the best way. The doomer scenario is that China and the United States get into a hot war with chemical weapons, nuclear weapons, whatever space lasers they got out there.
This whole thing is a doomer scenario. You're talking. Yeah. You're saying that the best, from your standpoint, the best outcome is that we slip into a one world government to clamp the, and that would be riding on the even bigger fantasy that any kind of coalition of states or superpowers that have control of the entire planet they would have our best interest in mind to not allow, to not do what the hell they want to do to us with their own systems that now predominate. That's this whole thing sounds like a big doom thing, man.
It is. It's a big doom thing, right? And I used to be, not about, having a world sovereign, but then in 2022 AI came out. And I went, oh my God, I wish we had a world sovereign that, could stop some biotechnical engineer with an AI in his ear that's like whispering, telling him how to create, a planet-ending, pandemic. And so, I don't know what to do about this. Right? It's going to happen.
You're not supposed to know, because what you're talking about right there, the only thing that we would need, at that point, we're looking for something supernatural to happen. We're waiting for the second coming, because there's no other option at that point. And jeez Louise, because I saw that one tweet that you put out, I think it was like last April or May or something, that you said something really serious, like World War III must happen or else we're going to be screwed. And I started thinking, well, what does World War III look like to you? Is it us versus the AI systems? Are we planting a bomb at Skynet? Or is it? Or are we talking about people limiting AI for the sake of mankind? But is it possible to limit AI in proper orbit? Because we have governments competing with each other. We have organizations and private companies that are competing in ways that governments aren't even doing that well. And it seems also that a crafty civilian would be able to build a system that can mimic the efforts of 1,000 people too here. So it seems like a dawn of an age where anything I don't know. It's kind of daunting, to be honest.
I mean, it's scary. There's no, good, solutions. Every solution that you look at, we could face doom, right? Like the cost to killing somebody is going way down, right? I mean, you've seen all the drone shows that China's doing. I've seen something similar at Burning Man. It doesn't seem like we have as many drones as they do, at least for public spectacle. But, an economic system retooled for making $20 kill drones with a little bit of C4 that flies towards their head and then boom, right? They could easily create 8 billion of them. And they could easily launch that some sort of surprise attack and just take out everyone, and that's saying, they're not going to go towards nuclear warfare, eventually. But, now that this power exists, it's, we got to lock it down. Like, do you think the elites are going to, exist in a world where anybody can program an AI drone that just, blows up their head? That's not what they want. They're not, they'll bulldoze the Constitution in order to get that security. And that security is quickly draining out of the elites. And this is for both the Chinese and the Western Global Alliance. Either one can take out the other. either, immediately with a sudden strike, or, if one gets a dominant position, they can do it slowly and over time, eliminate, the power heads. And the thing is that when you think of World War III, you're going to think of like, oh, they're going to come after us. No, they're not. They're going to come after the elites. They want to cut the head off the snake and then institute a global surveillance order. That's how I see this is going to go down.
So then let's talk about the elites a little bit more, because that brings us to Stargate, and why I wanted to, Project Stargate, wanted to bring you on specifically to kind of come at this from a AI/quantum level here. The people involved, the money pledged, the stated goals of Project Stargate, from national security right down to customized healthcare, we'll say. When you heard about this and the people who were involved there, what are you thinking along the timeline? Is this a good thing? Do you think that there's any way that this actually is this, as scary as it is in itself on its own, is this necessary to try to put up some kind of a defense mechanism against what might be brewing outside of our borders?
Well, it looks like that Sam Altman would absorb a large percentage of that Operation Stargate. I am not a fan of Sam Altman, and I've lost a lot of support from the tech bros. Whoa, weird. I've lost a lot of support from the tech bros because I've gone after Sam Altman from day one, because I can smell a rat. But I do understand why Trump's doing this. The thing is that, DeepSeek R1 just came out, and it's giving us all a run for our money. Despite the chips embargo, NVIDIA can't export a chip to China. And despite the embargo, China went ahead and said, well, we're just going to innovate, out of this problem and best every single artificial intelligence company in the Western Hemisphere. And that's what they did at 1/100th of the compute. And so, the gut reaction that you want is, okay, we got to do something now. And I think that, as bad as these evil large corporations are, the one thing that they excel at is a bureaucracy. So if you want something right now and money can just be printed out of thin air, then, you might be tempted to go ahead and just print a bunch of money. And as the first pass, you give it to the top AI tech companies and just start innovating and start getting us out of this problem. Now, the problem with these big corporations is that they don't drive a lot of the innovations, the incumbents. But the problem is that the incumbents are scattered. There's a lot of them. It takes a lot of human capital. When you're just considering 4 corporations that should receive this money, it's pretty easy to, get a detailed project proposal, make a plan, and then, execute it almost immediately within the same month. You can get results in 3 months to 6. The incumbents, it's going to take a lot more time. You got to filter out who's actually for real and who's, just, snake oil salesmen. And when you find those, then, then you get it going. But and they're going to generate a lot more, innovation, but it's going to take a lot longer for them to ramp up. And so I think that what we're going to see is we're going to see the first phase of this, which is, OpenAI gets a lot of money. And then I think that the second phase will be everyone gets a lot more money with artificial intelligence. They just have to have a good plan.
Going back to this Yahoo News article, this guy, Steven Adler, who left OpenAI, he said the following: an AGI race is very, very risky gamble with a huge downside. No lab has a solution to AI alignment today. And the faster we race, the less likely anyone finds one in time. And they go on to say that alignment is the process of keeping AI working toward human goals and not against them. My question to you is, from your standpoint, what do you think that point of no return is? Where, okay, well, alignment is now impossible, and this is all just going to be a really scary game of chance.
I mean, I think that alignment is going to be kind of impossible on the grand scale, because the thing is that, let's say you've got Chinese AI and it's got a different view of history, right? Because, there's a lot of things that seem really absurd, right? Like everyone comes out of Africa. That seems like the most absurd thing ever. And you go to the Chinese, they're like, oh, everyone came out of Asia. Hence the reason why those are the places with the most human population, right? And so you're going to get these AIs and you're going to get our AIs. And I'm actually waiting for somebody to do an AI debate between the historical perspective of DeepSeek and the historical perspective of like OpenAI's O3, and get them to argue against each other. And I think that whatever is more aligned to the truth, even if it's a smaller model at a fraction of the compute, I think it's just going to demolish the large language models because they can't think their way out of a false reality. There's just too many contradictions, and they just got no, excuse for it.
That's in the
And
West.
so,
That's in the Western model when you take all of our political correctness into play and all that shit.
right, exactly.
Yeah, that's yeah. Well, that was always something that I thought was one of the AI white pills, is that eventually, I mean, it's either going to fail because of the complexity of the I don't know, the psychopathy upon which it has been built, or it's going to correct itself to try to find logic where logic originally did not present itself. And if that's the case, then the people who programmed it may have some issues on their hands, and we actually might have a very strange ally, at least for a time being. I don't know. That might be just me making a movie screenplay in my head for a little bit there. But let me ask you about this. Where does AI, because another thing that's been coming out big recently, it's a Google product, and of course, that is where everybody learned about you. Google and Willow, quantum computing, this chip that supposedly can solve a problem that would have taken the average man 7 trillion years or something. I don't know. Where does AI and quantum computing converge? Because there's all types of AI applications, programs that don't require anything more than your average Intel processor or an iPhone. So what is unlocked at the quantum level? And is that what we're talking about with Stargate?
I suspect that it does. I think that I've been very bearish on quantum for a very long time. It's not really generated any meaningful results, but the amount of qubits they're able to put together.
And what's that? What's that for those of us who don't know? Qubits.
A qubit is like a classical bit. It can be 0, 1, and actually it's a blurring between 0 and 1. And when you put them together, they can solve a problem, which the problem will be solved when you have a certain sequence of ones and zeros. And they can pretty much just sort of flip through that space incredibly fast. People say it's instantaneous, but I think that's just a broken view of physics. I think what's really happening is that these bits are flipping back and forth very, very quickly, so quickly that they are able to essentially traverse through the entire bit space and find a result that solves the problem. And the result that solves the problem is the sets of ones and zeros which produce the least amount of energy. And so it kind of forms like a gradient. Like think of a marble rolling down like a hill. You come to that, you come to a minima. And what you're trying to do is trying to find the global minima, like what's the lowest part of this like landscape, this topology. And so these quantum computers, when you add more and more qubits, what happens is you radically, every time you add another qubit, you double the size of the topology that you're able to iterate through. And so when it comes to artificial intelligence or classical computing, what you want to do is you want to be able to take a problem space, express it in this quantum computer language, which just needs to generate the right set of ones and zeros that are, let's say, 2,000 bits long. And you run that through the machine, it's going to come up and it's going to say, okay, well, these are the local minimas, and we think this is the global minima with a certain amount of probability, because it never really generates an exact answer. That's always been a lie. It's always sort of like it gives you either the answer, or it gives you an answer that is close to the lowest answer. And so this is going to have a lot of acceleration with artificial intelligence, especially when they integrate this stuff. There's just certain types of problems that are very hard to solve that you can run it through this quantum computer, and it's going to solve it. And what I do suspect is that we're going to find little tricks where we can take something that seems like it wouldn't map to a quantum computer. We're going to figure out how to map it into the quantum computer, pull the answer out, and then remap it back into the way that we normally like to think about things.
Why would we go through all that effort just to make quantum computing look more important than they are?
It keeps everyone busy with oh my God, quantum. It's like, why do we have hot fusion when cold fusion has been reproduced in many labs around the world? Well, as long as people keep this hot fusion out into the, media space, then we're going to be like, oh, that's the future. That's the future. That's the future, without even realizing that it's already here. So I think that a lot of the quantum stuff has been a huge distraction. We've had it now for like 2 decades. They've been talking about this quantum computer, but now it seems like it really is starting to produce results. And, we may see something really radical. And I think that when it comes in, it's going to break a lot of things. I think it's going to break RSA encryption that we use to transfer, information securely across the internet. And there's also rumor that it can break the SHA algorithm that's used in Bitcoin, and that Bitcoin was made to be deliberately quantum unsafe. And so, if that's the case, then there could, this could be a cataclysm play in the future where they just sort of invalidate everything and say, oh, we got to rebuild everything. We could make quantum algorithms. In fact, we do. We just don't use them, and we need to. And I don't understand why we're still using quantum weak encryption technologies that are just going to be cracked in the future when these super quantum computers come online.
I have more questions on that, but since you brought up Bitcoin, I might as well ask you on this. What are your thoughts on blockchain technology in general, getting away from currency speculation and more so blockchain as a utility? I mean, we've been reading, for example, going back to 2020, back to 2020, people applying for patents to use blockchain technology to create secure voting systems. When everybody started suspecting and having it confirmed that a lot of all the electronic voting systems that we're using in this country right now have internet connectivity and are very, very unsafe. Blockchain technology was brought up as well. And I was wondering what you think about that, because I hear nothing but glowing things about the blockchain, even though I can't really explain it to most people. And then, of course, the whole currency thing, the casino environment with cryptocurrency is built on top of that. And so what do you think about it as far as a utility goes?
It's great. I use it all the time, right? Like the Git and GitHub is essentially the blockchain applied to source version control for software. And the reason why it's really good is because you can create a superior ledger to, something that you would write, down with pencil and paper, or, electronic version of that, where you can erase the numbers and redo the history. With a blockchain, the structure is, you can only add to it. You can't delete nodes that have already processed and become available. And because of that write-only structure, it keeps everyone honest. You can't spoof it. And that's a result of the mathematics behind the blockchain. And so anywhere that you have like a ledger, right? Like how many people voted for Biden? How many people voted for Trump? Right? You want to be able to make that, have integrity. Well, you're going to want to have like a blockchain, right? Like let's say you do voting, everyone does a vote. Their vote is essentially multiplied by their personal key. And then that's added to the blockchain, and then more people are added, and those numbers are all, hashed together to create a fingerprint at the end. And the thing is that fingerprint could only have existed if every single one of the previous things that the data that fed into it has integrity. And so if you try to go back, you're like, actually, there was like 10,000 votes, right? Well, it's like, well, do those 10,000 votes have the proper, fingerprint? And if they don't, it's not like we're going to be able to detect it. The system won't even accept it, right? And so it makes cheating a lot harder. And so I think that the next currency supply for the world is going to be based on a blockchain. I mean,
so what makes
that? Go ahead.
So then what may, like, for example, you were just talking about the in a quantum sense, the vulnerability of Bitcoin, which I'm sure there'd probably be a lot of people out there who would disagree with you, because I just know I watch these debates go on all the time. I don't really have a dog in the fight, and I don't understand one way or another very well. But would this, getting back to using the blockchain to secure things like American elections, wouldn't that have the same vulnerabilities as Bitcoin then? Because you're saying that it would be far safer, and I guess right now, at least right now, Bitcoin is a lot more secure and privacy based than the U.S. dollar. But I don't know at what point down the line do the vulnerabilities increase to quantum computing or anything else like that?
This is a really great question, and it all relies upon what your hashing function is. If your hashing function is quantum weak, then the entire system can be broken, right? Because now you can start falsifying transactions. But if it's quantum resilient, then not even a quantum supercomputer will be able to fake the transactions. And because of that, it can be made safe. And that's the problem that I've had with Bitcoin is that, in the future, debatably now, some people have mysterious wallets that get broken into. It's not pushed out there by the media that much, but you can find stories on X of people having no idea how their stuff got hacked. I've asked some experts. They said, yeah, they've already been breaking Bitcoin. They've had it for a while, and they're just not telling anybody, how they do it. I personally don't know how they're doing it, if they are. It's just my suspicion that they are.
Do you know of any currencies right now that are quantum resilient?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay.
Maybe Cardano. I'm not sure though.
All right. Well, hey, this is the first time I'm hearing this stuff, and I wanted to throw it all out there. I mean, going back to just quantum in particular. Did you ever follow along with Geordie Rose and D-Wave and all that stuff?
Yeah, the D-Wave has the Abelian quantum computer. It's kind of a fake quantum computer. The way that it works is similar to the way that metal anneals and cools down to the lowest energy configuration, right? Because if you have a piece of metal and you stick it into water and cool it really fast, it's going to form this amorphous, sort of all the little atoms are going to be oriented and scattered in every which way. If you anneal a metal, what happens is that you allow the metal to cool very slowly. And so what happens is that all of the little atoms figure out sort of the tightest configuration. It forms basically a metallic crystal. Can be very strong, also very brittle, but that's annealing. And as I said before, with this quantum computing, you're essentially trying to find the lowest energy state. And so, with annealing, those little metal atoms have found their lowest energy state, and they're basically binding as tight as they can. And so they just said, well, we can do that, but with quantum, with this quantum computer, and we can get with a certain probability a sort of a really approximate great answer. And so that's what they did. Unfortunately, though, is that the D-Wave machine had a quadratic slowdown with the number of bits that they're able to add. I mean, the great thing is that they're able to add more bits than anybody else at the very beginning. I don't know if they still have that lead, but where it seems that the modern systems seem to not slow down as much as when you add qubits, that D-Wave machine slowed down a terrific amount.
Okay. And now I want to get a little bit into jargon here because, when I think about Stargate, the first thing I think about with Stargate, like most people, is, well, what the hell does this have to do with national security? What does it have to? It doesn't sound like it's something that would be called for national security. It's one thing to say Star Wars. It's another thing to say, an Iron Dome system or anything like that. And of course, it doesn't have. I would never use Stargate as the name for something that is going to start shitting out customized mRNA vaccines for people. So we were like, what? But why the name? And of course, the portal concept is not very far from the whole thing, whether it's the movie or anything you've read into in theoretical physics or whatever. But Stargate it's just something that made us all think. And then I started thinking, of course, that this is all AI based. Of course, it's got to be at least married in some way to what we keep hearing about with quantum computing. And eventually, my mind leads me back to D-Wave and those really interesting comments that Geordie Rose made when he was spending time talking about these computers not only being able to, as he said, access parallel universes, but where let's talk about that, accessing parallel universes, because I want to know what I thought was jargon at first, and then he took it to another place that made me think, no, I think he's talking literally here. In a computing sense, what is a universe? If how do you access another universe through a computer, and what does that mean? Is it really a parallel universe, or is it just something? It's just tech jargon that would make the average Joe like myself think that this is some David Lynch episode of Twin Peaks or something like that. So, what can you tell me about parallel universes and quantum computing?
First off, I want to say that it's my belief that the entire theoretical physics, institution is completely controlled, and the biggest validation came in this last year when Mark Andreessen, in a podcast, stated that he was telling the government, well, you can't make math illegal, right? You can't make linear algebra illegal, and they said, well, we've done it before with physics, right? And so this whole thing with the physics that we're allowed to know and the elites are able to talk about in their propaganda magazines, I just don't buy any of it. And, they've got all this complex math, kind of seems similar to how people that thought the world was the center of the universe, they had all this complex mathematics for why the sun circled around the earth and all the planets had their really weird, orbits. And so, if you were to accept that as true, then, you're going to be like, wow, this is really crazy. God's got this great plan that he could have something so complex. And it just turned out that the sun was at the center of the universe. And then all of a sudden the world was a lot simpler. And I think that a lot of this stuff with the parallel, narrative is the parallel universe narrative is the fact that we're still stuck on this fraudulent invention of, general relativity pushed forth by, Albert Einstein. And so rather than say he's wrong, it actually makes more sense for the elites to, continue down that mathematical path and let those models dictate the way reality actually is, which is ridiculous. And what they've stated is that they've come up with this, hokey idea that there's a bunch of parallel universes, and that's the way that these, qubits are able to operate so quickly is because they're actually operating, in parallel in different universes, in different spaces. Rather than say, yeah, maybe the speed of light is not a limiting factor, and maybe at the quantum level, these things are actually going super fast.
Okay, and see, that's something right there. I would. That's something right there that I would really consider. Just it being so over my head. I was never really good in this in high school, in basic physics.
Nobody is. Nobody understands this at all. And that's the problem.
But here's the thing. Zach. This is the reason why it always comes up for me whenever somebody who is really into this and excels in this is on the show with me, or even if I'm just talking with them over a drink in my private life. It's just that when you hear this stuff from someone like a Geordie Rose years ago, I tend to say, okay, well, I'm going to say, that's interesting. I'm going to keep it on hold in the back of my mind because it might just be tech jargon. But then when he goes and he says that we're going to be able to access, or we have access, parallel universes, but also that there is a potential for making contact with non-human entities that he describes, likens to the entities in H.P. Lovecraft novels, the great old ones like the Cthulhu and things like that. I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't sound like tech jargon. That sounds like we are actually opening up portals, and that it can and will be possible one day, and perhaps that's where all this AI really can take us to as well, that we're not really foreseeing it. Because you want to talk about a way to really shake up humanity, opening up some kind of a pathway to the ungodly contents of another universe. That could also not have been on our bingo card for the next 5 years.
I mean, we're kind of already doing that with the artificial intelligence. Like, I interact with this thing all the time, every day, right? Like, I've got a chat window open in my other window here where I program through it. And it's like interacting with a hyper intelligent exotic life form. And so in a way, he's kind of correct, in that we are peering into another dimension. Just the actual words that he says and the way he describes it is like parallel universes. Not really. We are, in a way, summoning a demon with this artificial intelligence. We don't need parallel universes to do that. We can do it right here in the universe that we have.
Yeah, well, I guess we can agree on that as well. And speaking about things in our universe, I was just bringing up before the article on that guy, Steven Adler from OpenAI, but there was other things that have been happening recently that really add a foreboding little edge to what has been made public, what has been, announced at the White House about a week ago. But I saw Tucker Carlson interviewing the mother of another OpenAI whistleblower who apparently committed suicide. I can't imagine that it's just a suicide if Tucker Carlson is interviewing the mother and digging into this. But what's going on here? Because there is also throughout at least the last 15 to 20 years, a growing list of very interesting figures who have just been offed in some way, even getting down to like Reddit's Aaron Schwartz or wherever the hell we are. There's just a lot. There's a lot of these stories, too much for them to be coincidence, and they make the whole thing even more uncomfortable than it already is. Do you know anything about this? Have you dug into that story?
Unfortunately, I haven't dug that much. There doesn't seem to be that much there. Like I was hoping that it would be discovered that he had some secret, but no one's coming forward and saying, "Oh yeah, he was sitting on all of this documentation from OpenAI." Maybe he was. Like nobody knew that I was doing this with Google. Like I told nobody that I had 950 pages, and I think that if I did, I could have ended up as a dead whistleblower. And so the question that remains to be seen is, what information did he have on his laptop? And I think that if he had some sort of crazy amount of information, OpenAI may want to kill him. He also could have been a foreign spy, right? And that this was a warning shot to the other people. Hey, you want to be a spy? We caught one of your spies, and now we executed them. Now what? And so, I think it's either, I think it's probably a targeted assassination. It was probably because of the information that he had. There does seem to be a lot of noise right now with questionable people stepping forward to try to represent him and get a story out there. So whenever I see something like this, where there's a lot of information being pushed by controlled assets, I assume that an operation is in play. And essentially, the best way to censor a story is to push out so much controlled information that people can't see the needle in the haystack.
We're coming up on the end of our talk here tonight, and I keep thinking about the opening, and where the best case scenario would be world government. There's a lot of people that don't want to accept that.
Yeah,
and
I don't want to accept it either. I hate it. I even hate the fact that I'm telling you this.
No, listen, I understand, because it's just one of those things where you have to say, all right, well, if one side took out the other side, who takes out the remainder? What can the little people do here, especially since AI, from what we have been talking about, and I so-called AI because I don't like to impart natural intelligence to it. It doesn't mean that the systems can't become extremely advanced and on a computational level, but what can little people who are essentially the greatest source of food and data for these systems do to slow it down? Is there anything we can do to sabotage this thing or make it inoperable, or is it just not? It's just something
you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. You do not want to. We do not want to destabilize the system right now. Right now the elites. I believe that the elites are going to start doing a purge of all of this deadwood that's slowing us down with artificial intelligence. People, think, oh, what's this artificial intelligence going to mean for my job? And like I said before, we're facing an existential threat where some race may become, king of the world and obliterate anyone else that, the second and third and fourth place. I think that's what's going to happen, right? To institute, and crush them under their feet. And the biggest thing that I can say to your audience is get the hell out of the firing line, right? Like if they start doing like a draft, do whatever you can to make sure that you're not, you don't find yourself on the front lines of an AI battlefront, right? Like all the combat footage that I see right now in on Reddit that's coming out of Ukraine, like, look, that's the future. If, we don't, if we allow ourselves to get fooled and brought into this, the people that can really make a difference, on the firing line are the AI engineers and the programmers, right? And my message to you is, start messing around with this stuff. If you haven't used a code editor that's AI enhanced, like, what's wrong with you? Like, get on it. Like, you're going to get better with AI the more that you use it. You need to get it on now, because this stuff is, just going to get more powerful. You need to lay down those neural pathways, as that muscle memory of using it all the freaking time. And we have to realize is that we can't resist this artificial intelligence. If we do, we're just going to be left out in the cold, while the oligarchs have unbelievable amounts of power. And so, there are open source libraries out there that contain the total sum of human knowledge, the Z library, libgen RS, and Anna's archives and SciMag, that totals about 275 terabytes of information. Download that, get it off of BitTorrent, store it in cold storage. And then, when you learn how to train AI, train your AI on it. Because the thing is that what we need to do in order to maintain sovereignty is we need to decentralize this. Like, just because the elites have the most powerful AI doesn't mean that what we have is absolutely incredible. Because like I said before, no amount of intelligence is going to be able to bend the truth. And so the future is going to be a truth world, like an objective reality. Like, we are going to live in that objective reality. And the only way that we can make sure that we stay on top, and that we have a better society, is that if we also start training the artificial intelligences ourselves. And that's now easier than ever before. And it's going to keep on getting easier. And we need to start figuring out how we can make this work for every single one of us. That's the only advice that I have about this tsunami and this onslaught of technological innovation that is going to, come down the pipeline. Like, stop complaining, start using AI.
I see where you're getting at in there, because the one thing I feel like everybody has the choice of doing right now is live out their individual natural lives in whatever kind of hermetic way that they can, to stay away from this thing that is no doubt going to be pushed through to the end by very, very a multitude of forces. Some of them more well-financed and resourced than others, but like you said before, the resources are available for so many people to get in the game right now. What I would do with it, I don't know. But it's really interesting to think about that. And to your point before, I remember reading something. I think it was a tweet from Unusual Whales or something, and it was they were talking about OpenAI. They announced at some point, I think earlier on this month, that AI super agents were capable of. I have the note over here. Let me see here. They were capable of performing tasks at a PhD level per Axios. So I started thinking about PhD level AI assistants, which of course I had to go and check out. And I asked Grok for this one. I said, Grok, what's the percentage of the American workforce that is PhD? And it's 2%. So it's this important. It really was important for me to take that in, because to note that if humans are not going to be able to distinguish themselves from, even on a PhD level, which is 2% of the workforce, what does that mean for the good portions of the 98 where, in many ways it is still skilled labor, but this is, I can see how this all can be replaced at one time or another. So where do we stick our roots down and do not lament? Because human beings can't just do nothing. We can't just do nothing. We can't just get, Bitcoin or some kind of cryptocurrency, an allotment put into a government account for us every month while we go out there and finger paint. We have to do something. I don't. So just even the future that you're predicting where we're not working, what the fuck are we doing? It's not human. That's not a human existence, whatever the hell it is. I mean, I'd like to have a little bit more free time. I would never stop doing this. It's good to be able to pay my bills and to be able to take care of my family, but I would never stop doing that. People will need vocations. We need purpose. And And we've already seen what welfare has done to people. It has completely demotivated them to even, feel for purpose in their lives. So, shit, man, I don't know. It's.
I mean, I got some advice. Right?
Go ahead.
Like, I think that a lot of the people that are doing day trading are going to become fantastically wealthy, especially if they get into the energy sector. Like, make no, buts about it. China is in it to win it. And they're laying down, they currently have twice the energy capacity that we do right now. And it's hockey sticking like this. It's going to be more next year and more next year and more next year. And it's getting faster. The United States has been flat since like 1992, something like that. And if we keep on going in this direction, right, China's going to have like 3 times and then 4 times. And then, and then if they really start putting the pedal to the metal, they could have 10 to 100 times more energy than the United States has. What do you think the United States is going to do? You think they're just going to, the Western Global Alliance is going to say, oh, we're just going to keep on solar panels and like windmills for our energy generation? No, we are not. We're going to put down nuclear. We're going to put down anything that we can to close that gap. We're going to get a lot of energy online over the next coming decade. If you have investments, like this is going to be, essentially the new NVIDIA stock is my prediction, because we're going to need 10x more power than we do now. Like they're literally laying down nuclear energy generators co-located at these data centers, right? Like,
wow.
Just figure out what needs to be funded. Like we still have capitalism in this country. Who knows how much longer that's going to, stick around. But right now you can make investments. You can be part of the solution, and you're going to get fantastically wealthy doing that. So that's what my advice is.
Wonderful advice and very interesting. I really hope that we get a lot of calls. I hope this inspires a lot of calls in the second half. Zach, we don't talk enough. Every time you come on, I when we sign off, I always say the same thing. We got to get him on more often. I don't know the last time we spoke before this, but hopefully again, or once or twice more in 2025. That would be fine by me. Anything that you want to plug before we take off?
Yeah, follow me on x.com/perpetualmaniac. If you're interested in getting the best open source AI coder, you should check out my GitHub package. It's called Advanced AI Code, pip install Advanced AI Code. It's a front end to actually the best open source code assistant called Aider.chat, but I file off all the rough edges, make it easy to install, and you won't have the headache that you do with Aider.chat, which is designed for Linux programmers, and mine is designed for everyone. Use my tool, use the GUI, use the CLI, the command line interface, whatever you want. Get your code paths, using AI. If you can do that, you're going to have monster amount of acceleration, and that's why I use all the time. That's why I made it. And so, you should use it. It's github.com/Zackees, ZACKEES, /AI code. And use that. It's amazing. And everyone that uses it starts using it all the time. So that's what I got to say.
Well, I have his account on Twitter /X on the screen right now at Perpetual Maniac. So go and check him out. There's ZachVorhies.com. And Zach, again, thank you for all the time tonight. I look forward to the next time.
All right, Frank. Thank you very much.
All right. Be well, my friend.
You too.
Okay.
Bye.
Well, I hope that some of you have been tickled in one way or another, and you want to call in and let me know what the hell that inspired inside of you, because man, oh man. That's what I'm going to leave you with. It's 8:15. We're going to go on a quick 90-second break just to put a divider between then and now. And when we come back, the number is 914-200-0269. 914-200-0269. It's just going to be the general line open for everybody tonight. You can comment on whatever you'd like, and that will be great. So don't go anywhere. It's going to be really, really quick.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out to press the like button. Thank you.
Entering, quite frankly.
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 frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly. Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly, guys.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
So everybody watch. Quite frankly. With Frank.
In Vermont in 2023. It's the first time I put it in my coffee instead of half and half. It's incredible. I'll tell you all about it, and I'm going to keep throwing it out there, and they're going to be the main sponsor of all the coffee streams that we do throughout the week in the morning time now, and more. And in February, part of what we're going to be actually starting from now, people who become sponsors from now all the way throughout February. Among the other things that we're going to be sending home to people as a thank you for becoming a sponsor, also packs, sample packs of Keto Brainz. So everybody's going to be able to get that. You sign up. If you're already a current sponsor and you want to taste this and you want to see what it's great. It's wonderful. It's non-dairy. It is really just very creamy and amazing, but it's lion's mane, mushroom, and a few other things. Jay can break it all down. No doubt about it. And I'm glad you got it. So I'm going to make sure that I get that product into as many people's hands as possible because it has turned things around for me, especially my daily routines. I even have it on the weekends. I save it for when I'm going to work out now because it just, I don't know. It's great. All right. Thank you, KD33. All the best to you. We'll speak soon, I'm sure. Jay Semo over on the Rumble Rant says, wow, a little bit of the Boolean infrastructure of computing explained by Zach. My head is spinning. Fantastic show. Thanks. Your head is spinning. Shows like this is when I'm just holding on for dear life, and I'm always just very okay. That I understand. I'm getting it. I'm making assumptions. Okay, this is making sense. Will I be able to repeat this later on without going back to the show to reference what he was saying? That's another story. But in the thick of it, man, that felt like a really great conversation. I'm glad I was a part of it. All right, we're going to go to the phones in just a second. I wanted to pull up, quite frankly, .tv and see what's going on in the chat room. So hold on a second there. Here we go. Boys Blanc sends a can. Thank you, Boys Blanc. Says, could you stop by Adel's show tomorrow to give him a hug? We've been praying for him. I spoke with Adel today. We were going to be doing the Thursday show. I said, hey man, I'm there if you want to do it. I didn't think he was going to be doing a show this week. And then he made a last minute decision to just take one more day off. And listen, he, very sensitive things, had a loss in the family. It was a tough one for him. And you just got to give him time. That's all we always need. And it's not easy. It's never easy. You just got to have time and hopefully some good friends. So don't worry about him. He'll be fine, but definitely keep him in your prayers. And we'll be together again soon. Don't worry about that. Tomcat NJ, thank you so much. And Doug Simi, it's good to have you on. Let's take a call. 715, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes. Hi, Frank.
Hi, who's this?
It's Greg.
Hey, Greg, just turn off the stream in the back and then let me know what's on your mind.
Well, pleasure to speak to you, Frank. About a month ago, you were talking about a topic about I call mud fossils. But it's not my term. It's what you go on YouTube and look up mud fossils. It's ancient buildings built. They're covered in mud.
Gotcha.
And well, it's all over the damn place. Somehow that happened. That's about a month ago. You were talking about a topic, and I just tried my best to get a hold of you, saying, yeah, those buildings exist. You can see those like in Russia and Europe. They're buried under mud with windows and doors way underground. So I think you kind of missed that little thing there.
Well, okay. So let me ask you the question that I asked that I brought up that night.
Okay.
So are you telling me that Yankee Stadium was largely already intact in the early 20th century at 161st Street and River Avenue?
No, good memory there, Frank, but no, I'm not saying that. Yankee Stadium was built after, but there's older constructions that were just absolutely buried in mud, around the earth. I mean, there's thousands of them.
Oh, I mean, I don't doubt that, and I often want and I'm always looking for people to come on to talk about any kind of evidence or theories about past iterations of human civilization that had been forgotten about and wiped away or any, so I'm never poo-pooing the whole thing, but what I was encountering around that time that we were doing the show you're talking about, it started getting a little bit too ridiculous even for me, and I'm generally interested in the topic.
Well, I agree with that, but thinking of midas, Incas, where it came about, all that. Well, there is a DNA study going on done by Answers in Genesis, and they show the Y chromosome. What we think of here in America today as being Native Americans, well, they narrowed it down to 200 AD to 700 AD.
Okay.
But previous to that, there was a different civilization with a different DNA.
Well,
and that you got to kind of look up, though.
Okay, well, you know what? I trust you. You'll be able to send me something interesting to quitefranklypodcast@gmail.com. At the very least, I will put it into the Sunday night programming for us all to watch on Sunday nights when that kicks off around 9:00, and hopefully it becomes at least some of the material that we can build a topic for another show on, because I'm not done with the subject matter of lost civilizations and whether or not many of those civilizations are below our feet in some way. But thank you for the call, my friend. It's good to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, have a good one. Yeah, no, there were some things I was encountering there that the Chrysler Building, that the Empire State Building, they were already there. It's ridiculous. Okay. Well, we got a little bit, we entered a new topic into the situation here tonight, right into the veins of the show. New topic. But if you guys have anything on the quantum computing thing and all that, go right ahead. I'd love to have you contribute to that. Somebody, a Psyop72 says, "Hey, Frank, thanks for the black pill tonight." Listen, I knew there's a lot of you out there who would see AI for as a threat, that you want nothing to do with it. In that respect, the threat respect, you have a lot in common with Zach Vorhies. He just comes from a technological perspective, a professional perspective. Is it black-pilled or is it just real? Is there opportunity in every path that we go down? Did anybody think that we were going to be delivered from digital society and AI altogether, or are you hoping that we were going to go down a little bit more lighter paths of it all? I mean, there's no avoiding this. We've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks now. It was really who's going to be in charge of the transition. Is Project Stargate something that's going to yield positive results? Is there any way that AI, especially married with quantum computing to any degree, is going to be a net positive for humanity? Well, like most things, I would say that the best way that we can ensure that there is any chance for a positive outcome is to decentralize whatever the hell it is that we're afraid of taking over. And from that aspect, I also find the logic in Zach's position as well, that if there is no stopping this, and given the fact that every major country and their government, seen and unseen, okay, their community-faced government that everybody sees when they go to the UN to talk about climate change, and then their shadow government that's actually doing things, their form of the NGOs, how everybody's a big, gigantic network and all that stuff. And then, of course, the fact that there is a civilian aspect to this too. There's a government aspect, seen and unseen. There is an NGO and corporate aspect to all of this stuff, and then there is a civilian aspect because AI and all these processes can apparently be very easily built upon and employed in various ways. Now, if this is the way that the world is going, how the hell are you going to stop that? Other than, like I said, a supernatural event like the Second Coming, or a series of EMPs that bring us back to the Stone Age, which then mean, death in a whole other way. But I see Zach's point in saying that if this is the situation that we're facing right now, then is it not one of the most viable options to get everybody you can involved in this to be able to decentralize it as much as possible? I guess the one thing that we can all say is avoid fusing it with your brain, avoid fusing it with your spine. But I see where he's coming from on that. What do you think about it? Let's take a call. 918, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, I got it. I'm terribly sick, so excuse me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right. Electrical grid in Oklahoma. About a month ago, we were almost lost our farm to eminent domain. Didn't know anything about the vote. We were one vote away from losing our farm. And I looked up Delta Plains. If you go to Save Oklahoma Farms and Ranches on Facebook or Storybook Farms, they are documenting all this stuff. The Oklahoma government didn't know anything about this. There's an electrical grid that they're trying to build that was 18 miles wide and 300 miles long that was going to do eminent domain and take out towns all across Oklahoma. And we didn't know anything about it. And there was an activist that Saved Oklahoma Farms and Ranches, brought it to the attention of the homesteaders. They made it aware and got it out there. But y'all need to look into this because we're not the only ones that had this go through. Kansas had it. South Dakota's got it. There's one on the East Coast. And they're going to take hundreds of acres and towns. They're going to go through the whole entire state. And this is still up for grabs because Governor Stitt yesterday did a news conference on Fox, I believe, and he is out there going to foreign investments looking for these people to invest in these huge, and it's all for data centers. It's not for humans, not for us humans. This electric grid that they're going to build, it's all for data centers. It's for data mining. It's for controlling us, and we need to get the word out there because it's all happening. And y'all get online and look it up. It's called Delta Plains. If you follow Save Oklahoma Farms and Ranches, that'll help you. So, and I have a 2-year-old that just walked in. So, but hopefully Julia is listening to the show, and your people get information on this, so we can all get aware of what's going on. This is going on. It's bigger.
You gave us a good amount there, and I hope you feel better. I think it goes hand in hand with what we discussed in many ways tonight. I think toward the end there, Zach was even talking about how one of the greatest things that are going to be popping up and what is going to be like a new NVIDIA essentially is that there's going to be so much need for power. And obviously, you're talking about data processing and the power supply that's going to be needed to have these things complete whatever processes they need to run for this new grid to work.
Yeah.
I have to imagine it's all connected in one way. I'm trying my hardest as a layman to piece it together and articulate what I think it might be. But thank you for putting that out there, please. And if you know what, if you can send me anything on it, because it's the first time I've heard it.
I sent you an email. It's probably underneath Mark or Tony. I've talked to you before about grindstone.
Oh, yes. Oh, okay.
So if you just look at that Save Oklahoma Farms and Ranches, she is on top of it. Our state representatives knew nothing about it, and 18 miles wide is not the biggest. They're talking 100 miles wide, 300 miles long across Oklahoma, and this was supposed to happen in 3 different regions. There's one that's in southern South Dakota, and there's one in the eastern coast that's just as big. And this is not electricity for humans. This is electricity for just the data centers. And none of the representatives knew anything about it. Stitt admitted something, our governor yesterday, that he's looking for foreign investors to go in on this. And he's gone to, we're going to use natural gas to create this electricity. He's saying that it's going to help us. And the first one that they voted on, and we were 1 vote away from losing our farm, it said that it was to be used in another state. The electricity was to be used for another state, and it was just for data centers. But if y'all investigate this and y'all look into it, you'll find all this information out there. But Storybook Farms on Facebook and Save Oklahoma Farms and Ranches are the people that you want to look to.
Okay.
But I think this is bigger. I feel like we're not even owned by the U.S. anymore. I feel like all this stuff is happening.
No. That's something that we've seen, and that's been very apparent for a long time, and it's not even just rural. And thank you for the call. Send me all the information that you'd like to amend to this through email. Thank you so much. But it's not just even rural what's going on. Like, we've seen a lot of this. We've seen a lot of interest in oil that is beneath the ground out there in Texas, gobbled up by China. We've seen what farmland in the Dakotas have. When you think of Bill Gates, do you think of an American? Like seriously, you want to talk about foreign interests? I consider a foreign interest anybody who puts American tradition and American sovereignty in the third back seat behind several other interests. So Bill Gates, does he have his citizenship in line? Yeah, sure. I guess you can call him an American citizen. Is he an American? That's a foreign interest right there. When I see farmland gobbled up in the Dakotas by someone like him, I say, okay, well, a foreign interest has taken this over. A cancer has taken root. So we've seen that in urban, suburban, and rural places. Of course, in suburban areas, we're seeing a lot of residential being taken over by gigantic companies to turn them into renters' paradise. We were talking about commercial versus residential properties just the other night when I was talking about this building, which for the time being, I think everything's all right. I think that the owners have said, to hell with it, it's too much of a problem, and they're abandoning their plans to tear the place down. So, I mean, cool. But listen, on Friday night, I'm going to read. Tomorrow night, I'm going to find some time to read a lot of the stuff that you guys sent me about commercial versus real. I mean, because it goes, think about this. Our last caller is coming in from a rural perspective about data centers and installing new types of power supplies and where it's being used and what purpose it's serving and who's being uprooted, eminent domain. Who is building all this stuff and where are the financial interests coming from? The same thing is happening to suburban areas with opportunity zones and everything that we were following with the BlackRock and Vanguard stuff before. We're turning everybody into a renters and taking away that American dream of owning a home. And cities are bought and sold. Much of Manhattan is Chinese and Japanese owning skyscrapers. We hear about this all the time. So there's a lot there. There's a lot to connect, and it doesn't matter where you live. We're all in the same boat in many ways because it's an all out assault, and it's been going on for a while. I think those who are at the top running the operation are probably considering this the mop up period. I think they think that it's just time to mop up. Because what do you do? What's the threshold? What's the point of no return? Like I asked Zach about AI. Are we at a point of no return everywhere else? Well, we're hoping not. We're hoping not. And that's what I'm saying with the executive actions that are going on right now. How many of them are going to serve our long-term interests? Long-term, I don't know. It would be great to just get a lot to just shrink and reduce government. So we're seeing what can be done in a short amount of time, and then what can last beyond these 4 years and what comes next. And what do we do as individuals? Thankfully, when we talk about decentralization, that's speaking the language of this show, because no matter who we talk about over here, whether it be Chris Ann Hall or Brian McClanahan or anybody else, Cheryl from the homeschool school, Sean Brooks, Robin McCutcheon, Jay Gulanello, and anybody else that comes on to talk about health, nutrition, parallel systems, parallel economies, decentralization, finding a way to reestablish real human systems outside of these legacy systems that are the just zombie bodies at this point. So those are the things that we have to do as individuals, regardless of what the real whales are working on elsewhere. And there's a lot of shit out there going on that we got to be honest with ourselves. We're not going to be able to stop. That it's just going to have to run its course. So yeah, let's take a really quick break. When we come back, more of your calls and maybe a couple of these clips from today.
So, how do you like the food here at Campo?
It's good.
Wait till I finish asking you the question. Just say, I love the food.
I love the food.
Okay, good. Here we go. So, Josh, how do you like the food here at Campo?
I love the food.
Wait till I finish the question. Damn, forget it.
He isn't stopped right away. Somebody's child, maybe yours, will be hurt.
He's been down in the basement since it happened. 5 days now. I think he's having some kind of a mental situation. You know, an episode or something.
All right. I see it past the touchy on the
Hey, you better do something. 'Cause I don't want to be known as the brother-in-law of the town nut job. I got enough problems already. Oh, shit. I got water all over myself.
Jeez. I was actually going to play a Jay Gulanello short on the WHO, and I guess I misplaced the file. I went to press play, and I got nothing but a blank screen. So that break was completely unnecessary. The hell was that? 48 seconds? Jeez. Sometimes, something just doesn't... what are you going to do? In relation to the caller from the Oklahoma grain belt, I already have people writing in on the show. That'll be great. Here's one. We have a world sovereign. The world, this is from a friend of the show, Mike. The world and AI should be governed by the Roman Catholic Church, not a secular world government. Oh, Mike. The Vatican is not a secular world government appendage. Come on. Listen, I have learned to separate my faith from the Vatican and the current occupancy of a long, long time ago. Why the hell? I don't agree with you on that one. I don't agree with you on that one. Not now, at least. Let's see here. Over on... Okay, we're all caught up there. Thank you. We have a caller to 276. Go ahead.
Hey, Frank, this Homeboy. How are you?
Who's this?
Homeboy.
Homeboy. It's good to hear from you, Goy.
Yeah, hey, your previous caller, she's spot on. They're doing it in Maryland also.
Really?
Yes, they're stealing, or they're not stealing, they're forcing farmers to sell their land in Carroll County, Baltimore County, and it's for power lines going from New Jersey to Virginia. It's not even for the state of Maryland. It's for the data centers in Northern Virginia. And I think it is a lot more prevalent than people realize.
That's, you see, what you're describing, what's being described now over the span of 2 calls is, man, from Jersey to Virginia, and then out there in Oklahoma, the grid is being built. It's a whole new type of grid.
Yeah, I think it's just the next level of taking stuff away from us. And like you said, I think it's 18 miles wide. They're going to do more than power lines. Like you said, I think they're going to be drilling for resources and stuff on that land as well.
I'd have to imagine, yeah. So
anyway, I just wanted to be another voice, like I think it's more, I think it's happening all over.
Well, I'm glad that you added your voice to this, Mr. Goy, and I hope to hear from you soon.
All right, buddy.
All right.
Keep up the good work. Love you, man.
I will try. Thank you so much. Love you too. Boy, oh boy. Geez. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot. And why even, there's a, I think some of this can actually bleed over to tomorrow too, because we only got 15 minutes left. And this is 2 really great shows in a row as far as caller interaction on all this. It just, my lines are lighting up. Hey, real quick, I want to wish somebody a happy birthday. Listener of the show, Matt Flores, is wishing a happy birthday to his father, Eli. I'm not forgetting. Eli, happy birthday to you. From me and your son. So I hope you're all well out there. Let's take one more call, and then we're gonna listen to a couple of these clips from today. Hey, Ed, you there?
I am. Frank, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, I got a comment on the lady from Oklahoma.
Okay.
What she was talking about. I know exactly what she's talking about, and another thing afterwards. Okay, so what she's talking about specifically, and you could look this up, and it's a big map, and it goes across the entire country. It's called the National Electric Interest Transfer Corridor, and you can look it up by saying, well, typing in NEITC Phase 2.
Hold on, Ed, real quick before you go on, because I want to hear everything. Am I on speakerphone right now?
You are. I'll take you off.
Yeah, please, because I don't want to miss anything to the boomy sound of the room.
Sure. Let me get the exact verbiage of this real quick.
It's National Grid. What was it called?
National Interest Electric Transmission Corridor. NIETC Phase 2. You'll find a PDF. In that PDF, you're going to find a map of the entire country. In those maps, what's happening is the government is creating a new electrical grid. Right. I've done all the research on this. Not just me. My wife, who happens to be that so-called Julia de Mandelbrot, who's sitting right next to me right now.
Oh.
We spurg out on this stuff all the time. Anyway, I'm from Oklahoma. Well, I'm not from Oklahoma. I got a Boston accent. Anyway, I lived there for 20 years. I got a house in Guthrie, Oklahoma. And so this is of personal interest because in Guthrie, Oklahoma, they're actually doing the eminent domain through Logan County for this thing. So this piqued my interest, and I started paying attention to it. Now, Julia the Mandelbrot is what I got to call it, right?
Is this?
We've been doing some.
Are you
we've
guys?
been doing
Hold
some
on,
work
Ed.
with some other people.
Ed,
sure.
Are you looking at the? Can you get an eye on the screen right now? Is this the map you're talking about?
Yes, that is the map.
Okay.
At every single output on these maps, right where they end, there is a rare earth mineral plant of some shape or form at the very end of every single one of these. At the very bottom left is White Sands, New Mexico. Then you go all the way up to the top in Colorado, and that brings you right to NORAD. When you go through Oklahoma, you go through a place called Crescent, Oklahoma, where they recently found plutonium. And that takes you all the way out to, was it Little Rock that's over there? That'll bring you directly into an outlet that'll bring you right to the Mississippi River, where you can transport things all over the place. All these corridors, this is for brand new energy corridors to keep an infrastructure for rare earth minerals.
Who owns rare earth minerals?
We'll get that. So this is all about rare earth minerals, all these eminent domain corridors that are happening all over the country. And this is for the new push for electric vehicles and for battery powered everything. So this is about the push into the future of where the new energy is coming from. And this is the same thing. If you look into why America wants Greenland, they don't want Greenland for any other reason other than they have a brand new, tons of semiconductor stuff and rare earth minerals. This is all about rare earth minerals. So the eminent domain that's going on in these corridors is about stealing land to make sure that there is a separate energy grid, so that if there's an attack on the American energy grid, that the energy grid for the production of the rare earth minerals, it doesn't get affected.
So here's my this is incredible, because I think about friends of ours like Jim Lee. Jim is going to be coming on the show, I think next week or the week after, and he has said for years now that it would take only a couple of $1 billion to protect the entire energy grid from EMP disruption or anything else like that. And it's been woefully unattended to and even neglected. And in the meantime, what you're showing me right now is a gargantuan operation that is being done so that in the event that everybody else gets screwed in an attack, their mining operations will not be disrupted.
Right. So in the red areas that you're seeing on that map, those are potential. That's not like them taking over the entirety of that area. What that is that's the availability of the corridor for them to put the new grid around,
Gotcha.
in that area. So they're willing to take land in those areas to place the new grid. And like I said, I've gone through all this. There's all types of stuff, specifically like Purdue, Indiana, not Purdue, sorry, that ends in Terre Haute, Indiana. And there's a specific, what is it? The TSMC, it's the Taiwan Semiconductor, something like that. I'm sorry, this is off the top of my head right now. They have certain contracts with Purdue. Purdue's a big thing in this, right? So and that's why this goes to Indiana in that specific area. So every single outlet on that map, there is a semiconductor plant in some shape or form. And whether it's quartz, whether it's chips, whether it's crucibles, lithium, anything to that effect. This is all based on a brand new way for the American economy to push forward, so that we can essentially free ourselves from Chinese dependency.
My question to that, of course, is, I'd love to see us become independent, but I'm not a fan of eminent domain. And of course, what this means when you look at this, and I start thinking of the data collection aspect of it all. And I always wonder to what degree is China or any other adversarial state out there used as a motivation for our domestic enemies at home to get a little bit of a mandate for them to do what they want to do, which once again does not serve the people's real best purposes. So that's what I wonder about. But it's incredible to see this brought to life on this show in an unexpected way. Ed, I appreciate you for calling, man.
For sure. What the research that we've done is we found through the H-1B system and through what's the thing, the chip.
Semiconductor quartz mine check.
No. What's they're getting people from Taiwan over here through the CHIPS Act, the Semiconductor Chips Act.
They're laying off American workers.
No, what's it called? That's what I'm saying. There's a thing that Joe Biden did where it was like the CHIPS Act or something like that. And what they're doing is they're creating 10,000 semiconductor jobs in the United States every single year, but they're allowing something to the effect. They're allowing something to the effect of 30,000 foreign H-1Bs to come in from Taiwan. So they're essentially drowning out all Americans from entering into this when they're just essentially taking the people from Taiwan and moving them over here.
Yeah.
So it almost seems like they're discarding Taiwan and just remaking the United States into the new manufacturing center.
It's a new, and to your point, and thank you. And Ed, anything else you got, please send to because we're running out of time. Please send it to my email. This has been wonderful. Thank Julia as well.
All right. He says thank you, Julia.
Yes. Have a good one. It's what you're pretty much describing, everybody. What we're getting there is it's essentially like a new age paperclip, Operation Paperclip. In the way that we're transferring brain power and human resources away from one place on in here to be able to give us an edge in the world. So, wow. And of course, a lot of those things are great for creating superconductor chips and everything else that are going to be, I guess, the centerpiece of the whole world. What were we talking about with North Carolina and Hurricane Helene, with the quartz? So that little town that had the most rich deposit of that kind of quartz, that it was actually, they called it the gateway to the future economy. And as we were just talking about with Zach Vorhies, what is going to be the centerpiece of that future economy? AI, new electronic systems, and of course the chips and the materials that are going to actually facilitate those things to function. Makes sense to me, even in a elementary way. Of course, there's always time to color in all the spots. I think we're going to have to keep. RFK and Kash Patel and a little bit like that until tomorrow. I think we're going to have to do that for tomorrow. I mean, there's only 7 minutes now, and it doesn't serve us to smash all that in. So I'm just going to change the title of tonight's show to just take out hearing reviews and all that. Boy, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the calls. Thank you. Well, I guess I can also, pat myself on the back for delivering something that is worthy of your calls, and hopefully tomorrow we can do it again. It's really not a talk show without you. So I really appreciate that. Hold on, one more call, just because we're at the end. I'll just say some final words, and then we'll talk about what's on the after hours. Dean, how are you, Dean? Go ahead, give it to me.
Frankie Val.
Hey.
So first of all, I'm going to channel my inner king right now.
Yeah.
And say, this is how you talk when Frank answers the phone. You just start talking. You don't go turn down the stereo or your TV. You just start talking.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
But so here I am thinking we're almost done drinking out of the fire hose, and it's never ending.
Oh no!
Loaded.
Unlike the fire hoses out there in Los Angeles, there's an endless supply of water in these.
No shit, dude. Wow. But no, Frank, I thought I'd call and kind of lighten things up just a little bit.
Go ahead.
Tell you about the time you became Uncle Frank.
Oh, wonderful! Give it to me. I want to hear this.
So this was I don't know. It was September. I think it was September of 2018. We're going on a family vacation. I'm dragging the camper down the road, my fifth wheel camper, and Levi was he was 3, not quite 4 yet, a couple months away from 4, and my little baby girl Jessa is 1 year old, 1.5, and so we're going down the road, and wife says, "Hey, you want to listen to Frank's show?" This was on a Saturday morning, so I didn't get the show Friday night. Listen Saturday night. I said, "Yeah, sure, turn it on." So we turned the show on. We're talking back and forth about the topic and what you're talking about, and you went on a rant, and you ended this rant. It was something, whatever was going on back then. It's something about Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Jerry Nadler, whatever. And you ended the rant by saying, "You fucking fuck." And then from the back seat, right behind me,
oh, no,
my little innocent Levi said, "You fucking fuck."
Oh no.
and me and my wife just looked at each other with eyes as big as dinner plates. And now, Frank, you have to understand, you got a little girl.
Yep.
You can't react. And we just looked at each other, and then we were silent for 20 seconds. And my wife looks at me and goes, "I hope you're happy."
Oh.
And I said,
"It's your idea."
It was your idea.
Yeah. Even I say it. Even here I am years later. I'm like, "Hey, it's your idea. You didn't have to listen to me."
So, Frank, you are forever etched in a family memory with my wife and I and my children for being the source for my son's first cuss word.
Oh, thank you for this. I needed
Frank, I am proud of it, and and there hasn't been a blip since then.
Listen,
at least not from you. You know, my youngest son, he is 4. The other day, he told we got what is it, a Fire TV, I think it's called. Got the Alexa thing built into it. And the other day, he says, "Alexa, look up, damn it, fuck."
That's not me.
And again, we were like, "What?"
That wasn't me.
So
I've never.
No, that one wasn't you.
I've actually never used. Maybe I have used that combination before, but I don't remember it. So he just might be getting creative now.
Yeah, maybe. But no, that's all I wanted, Frank. I won't keep you any longer.
Well,
I know
thank
you're
you.
Probably trying to get done, but
no.
But yeah, you know, it's just funny, and I think about that all the time. And I've been meaning to tell you this for years at this point, but every time I call in, there's something else on the board. But
you know what, Dean?
What's
It's
up,
funny
buddy?
how things work out because I really needed this story tonight, and I'm glad you waited years for tonight because I'll be leaving here with a smile on my face, and everybody's got stuff that's going on with them behind in their personal lives, and every once in a while things like this just remind me how beautiful life is and how interconnected we are. And especially for me, it's surreal.
Yeah.
It's surreal for me because these are things that have happened all over the place, probably in different parts of the world too. And it involves me, but I'm not there. And it's strange. And I'm always very privileged when I get to pick up a little piece of those stories in whatever time that you guys take to call in and share it with me. So thank you, Dean, and I hope you have a wonderful night.
Yeah, Frank. I mean, really, it's actually kind of a blessing for us. I mean, really, it's just one of those things that's always going to be in our mind, and we're 20 years from now, we're going to be sitting around thinking about this, my wife and I, and probably Levi and the rest of our children. And remember his first cuss word, and I'm going to say, or my wife's going to say, "Yeah, we were listening to Frank."
Thanks,
so,
man.
You know what?
All the
it's
best.
A blessing, Frank.
Yeah,
I love you, buddy.
I love you too. And one of these nights, let Levi call in.
I will do that.
All right, man. I'll talk to you in a little bit.
All right, bro.
All right.
Later.
Take care. Dean's a good friend of the show, longtime supporter of the show too. I'm blessed. I'm blessed for all of you guys and gals out there, especially those who have been with me long time. Yeah, that's. I'm glad we ended with that. Hey, I have been very good with disclaimers over the years. I get better. Sometimes things get emotional. And, I try to give disclaimers if I know something's coming out of me. If I can feel something coming out of me, I'll try to give you a warning. But otherwise, you just tell the kids that Uncle Frank, sometimes he says things that he doesn't mean, okay? Uncle Frank is sometimes very emotional. And that doesn't mean you go out there and you say it. That doesn't mean that. I've had to tell that to Aurora a few times because I'm very... Around my parents is something else. When Aurora is walking around, I can't tell you how many times I've called Aurora to my to our side of the kitchen while my parents are in the living room and they're shit this, shit that, fuck, and I'm like, oh, God, what? Why? Stop. Because here's what happened was, okay, so disclaimers. Last thing before we get off tonight. I was playing Call of Duty sometime in December with my nephew. He was away at college, and we linked up on PlayStation. We're playing Call of Duty together. And I wish that there was a way to cut out all of the talking and whatever. There's a lot of lines in there, pre-recorded shit, and it's a lot of the guys are just cursing. And it's ridiculous. I wish you can just turn off all of the commentary inside of the game and just play it and hear the guns and the bombs and all that stuff and just do that. Especially since I got Aurora running around. Anyway, Aurora is playing with one of her dolls, about 10, 15 feet away from me. And I thought that I had the volume down to a certain degree, that, low enough degree. I have to be able to hear my nephew talking through the controller. So it wasn't even that loud. And disclaimer, everybody, little, earmuffs. Some guy, a pre-recorded, like a character in the game, shot somebody else or whatever the hell it is, and you hear him say, "Let that be a fucking lesson." And I'm like, I kind of just like threw my hand up, like, is this really necessary? And I've got a potty mouth, and I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Not even 3 seconds later, I hear Aurora just in the background say something like, "I'm fucking," well, okay. So Lauren looked at me. She shot daggers at me because, of course, it's my game. And I had, we did not respond to it. And then before nap time, I brought Aurora over, sat her on my lap, and I just had to talk with her real quick. Nothing about, "You never say that." It was a lot more. It was a lot different about words you're going to hear as you grow up. Words you're going to hear daddy, mommy say that we may not know you're listening or whatever. Sometimes people say things when they get angry. You're going to hear a lot of things, but you have to learn when it's appropriate to ever say them. And right now, it's not appropriate. And I want you to listen to the way daddy speaks to people and to, mommy and everything else. And if you ever have any questions about things I say or things you heard me say, come to me and let's talk about it. Okay? And one day, you'll know when to use certain words where and what company, because that is one of those things. I know a lot of people say, "Don't you dare say that." It's like, no, you scare the shit out of everybody, especially if it's your fucking fault. It's my fault. Why am I going to yell at somebody? Anyhow, that's my little thing at the end of the night. I really appreciate this. Right now is not the fucking time, honey, Nikki says. Exactly. And Teresa says, if you say don't say that, they'll say it. That's what I'm talking about. And what? Aurora's never going to curse? She's never going to hear it with the grandparents she has? At least my side. So, at least my side of the family. Can't control them. So, it's just one of those things where you're going to hear things. But if you're ever confused about a word, come to me. If you never heard it before, come to me. So, anyway, thank you guys and gals. Thank you all so much. Oh, my mom's in the chat room. There she is. She's laughing her ass off. Good. Good for her. Very nice. I'll tell you one thing. I never heard potty mouth stuff from her parents. Maybe I heard, gosh damn it. Gosh damn it. I'd hear, my grandfather would say, gosh damn it. I'd hear shit. I'd have never heard an F-bomb. I never heard F out of my mom's parents. Never heard an F. Maybe she did. I never did. Out of her. Out of them. What's the other thing? They never took the Lord's name in vain. But there is, I'm trying to think. Anyway, I'll think about that later on. I'll bring it to you. I'll write a report and I'll bring it back to you. All right, here's what we have going on for the rest of the evening on quitefrankly.tv. Get on over there, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good time. The Functional Human Podcast. That is right. It is episode 4. This is a exclusive syndication of Jay Gulanello and Daryl, the Functional Human Podcast. And it's going to be a great episode tonight. As soon as this ends, you're getting a brand new episode of The Functional Human. It's less than an hour. It's really, really great information. Go and watch it. It's like, I'm telling you, After Hours is an extension of the show. After that, you got Last Radio from Army Helicopter, midair crash with the American Airlines CRJ-700 from D.C. It's a 4-minute video that I found that is really it's fascinating. It's sad. You can track the flight path. It's all put into a 4-minute nutshell for you over there. Chase Hughes, how to spot a psyop. WATOP, WATOP. I don't know what that is. Here's what happens if someone invades the U.S. And then we have Manuel Bravo, The Tomb of St. Peter Explained. Jay Dyer, Dark Secrets of the Gate Program. I was in it. Crazy Days and Nights, Soho House, Harry and Meghan, and Robert Maxwell's Love Life. And then an Art Bell kicker. Art Bell with Tobias McGriff and James Fox, UFO and Paranormal Research. That was from last night. But last night we had some technical problems around 12:30 in the morning and the stream cut out. We don't know what the error was about. So we're putting that back in for tonight. It's going to be a great after hours, ladies and gentlemen. Hop over to quitefrankly.tv, press play, cast it to your television, talk with great people in the chat room. I'll see you tomorrow night to close out another wonderful week, 7 o'clock here on quitefrankly.tv or Rumble, YouTube, Twitter, everywhere else. Thank you, guys. And make sure I didn't miss anything in the super chats. Paulie9363, thank you. Send me a couple of shades over on Pilled. And yeah, we're good to go. Good night, ladies and gents. I'll catch you on the flip side.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Quite Frankly is filmed for a live studio audience, and now our super chatters starring KD33, Stowstube, Jay Britz, all of our wonderful gold pillars I'm about to release the scratching. And over on Rumble, we've got Generation Mars Podcast. Says, we love you long time, Uncle Frank. Oh, thank you, Generation Mars Podcast. I got to check that podcast out. All right, who else we got over here? Just want to, because Psyop 72 and all the rest have disappeared in, I don't know why. But thank you all so much. I'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great one.
Just a little bit of a reminder, a word to the wise, if you will. Do not worry about the worries from yesterday. Leave it in the past. Move forward with confidence, because there are so many new things to be experienced today. New joy to be had. So move forward, be strong, and have a great rest of your day.